I have a box of sagebrush here that I just recently harvested. See my other videos on sagebrush. I actually have access to millions of acres of sagebrush, being in northeast California, where unfortunately the ranchers and rice farmers consider it a nuisance and will eradicate it out of the ground, even though this plant grows up to 200 plus years old. See my videos on my old growth sagebrush, and you will see that I have branches that are thicker than my arm. Sagebrush has been used for indigenous purposes and medicinal purposes for centuries, and as simple as athlete's foot to medicinal teas and air purification, viruses, bacterias. There's just an endless laundry list of purposes. I'm gathering this because I'm going to do some wrapping, and the weather was extreme electrical storms out, and the heat and whatnot is varying throughout the past few days, so I thought it was a good time to maybe take advantage of some of the local flora, fauna, and learn a little bit about sage, and maybe distribute some of this amongst the masses out there for whatever purpose or reason people want to use it. Do some research on all the different reasons why people use it for medicinal health or spiritual or ceremonial practices. This box right here represents probably 5 to 8 pounds of fresh sagebrush. Sage is not actually related to sage. It is actually related to the sunflower, and there are many different types of sage. This is considered blue sage. White sage is much thicker leaves, and these are very skinnier leaves. When burned, it has a sweeter smell. And all the different sages, including the culinary garden sage, are used for medicinal or food purposes. So all of it's good. Anyway, that was just a quick one. And again, don't just go out and mow down, a field of sage because you think you can make money off of it, or it's in your way. Remember that plant is a valuable part of the ecosystem, and antelope and deer eat off of that, and different insects and bugs that then the bats and birds and different things eat, and the slugs and worms and ants and wasp and different flying insects all use these as shelters, and different little furry, fuzzy, creepy crawly type creatures of the greater basin and fields and mountains all use. This is a shelter plant, and it stops the wind from blowing the topsoil up, which then allows the soil to accumulate. It shades the ground, which then allows other moss and plants and things to grow up. It has a very deep tap root and will survive in extreme arid conditions where there is little water, or only water maybe a few times a year. So again, by getting rid of this, you've now created desert in your area, and nothing will ever grow again. Once you've taken out the sage, there's a good chance that nothing will ever grow in that area again. So it's just a sad reality of what the ranchers and farmers and hay farmers and rice growers do in areas like this, is come out here and eradicate thousands of acres of old growth sage, which again is the only plant that really grows out here that is able to create this whole ecosystem for all these different animals to survive on. And they grow rice, and they chemically treat the ground because it's not viable for anything to grow in, and they just destroy the environment permanently and turn it into a great desert. And once you've turned something into a desert, that's it. It's going to take someone like myself to turn that desert back into a Garden of Eden. So feel free to see my videos on Garden of Eden and or desertification and reforestation and things like that. But in order to do that, that's an extreme dedication and planting and planting and planting, and it's just best to try and leave as much sage and different plants as possible, even if they're what you consider a nuisance. Dig around them, work around them, build your driveway, build your crops, do whatever it is that you're doing, but consider that for every plant and thing that you take out, you're destroying the environment.